It's a sad truth, but most startups fail. And a big reason why is because they copy instead of create. They try to follow a well-trodden path, going from 1 to N. They want to be the next Google or the next Facebook, but they just end up as, well, pale imitations. So today, we're diving into Peter Thiel's incredible book, 0 to 1. This thing completely flips conventional business wisdom on its head. It's a guide for building companies that create brand new things, making that incredible leap from 0 to 1.
Right off the bat, Thiel hits us with this powerful challenge. The big takeaway here is that real progress, the kind that actually pushes humanity forward, doesn't come from just copying a successful playbook. Think about it this way. Doing what we already know how to do, Thiel calls that globalization. That's what takes the world from 1 to N. But creating something completely new, that's technology. And that's what takes us from 0 to 1. This whole explainer is about figuring out how to make that exact leap. All right, first up, the competition delusion. So Thiel's first big radical idea, it goes right after something we're all taught to worship, competition. He basically says our obsession with it isn't just a waste of time, it's actually destructive. Okay, let that one sink in for a second. Capitalism and competition are opposites. That's a bombshell, right? I mean, we're all taught that capitalism thrives on competition, but Thiel says, nope, it's the exact opposite. See, capitalism is all about accumulating capital, and to do that, you need profits. But what happens in a market with perfect competition? Everyone's fighting so hard that profits get competed away. They just vanish. So what does that leave you with? A brutal war for survival, not a space to create something truly valuable and lasting. Okay, so let's really break this down and look at the two extremes here. On one hand, you've got perfect competition. Think of it as this brutal zero-sum game. Everyone's selling basically the same stuff, and the profits get squeezed down to nothing. It's just a fight to stay alive. But on the other side, you have a monopoly. And we're not talking about the evil, mustache-twirling kind. We're talking about a company that's so unique, so different that there's no real substitute. And that powerful position, it gives them the freedom and the profits to actually think long-term and, invent the future. So that brings us to the core idea of the whole book, from 0 to 1. Thiel says there are really only two ways to make progress in the world. And, well, we've kind of gotten obsessed with the wrong one. All right, so check out these two paths of progress. You've got horizontal progress, what he calls 1 to N. This is basically globalization, just copying things that already work. Like if you have one typewriter and you build 100 more, that's horizontal progress. But then there's vertical progress, or 0 to 1. This is technology. This is creating something brand new. So instead of making more typewriters, you invent the word processor. See the difference? One is just imitation, the other is genuine creation. And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical point. Thiel argues this is a really urgent problem. If all we do is spread our old ways of doing things all over the globe without creating new, better technologies, we're going to put a massive, unsustainable strain on our resources. The only way forward for humanity, the only way to get real, lasting progress is to have these 0 to 1 breakthroughs. Okay, so let's talk about why you actually want a monopoly. If competition is the enemy and going from 0 to 1 is the goal, then what you're really aiming for is to build what Thiel calls a creative monopoly. Basically, a company that's so unique it creates its very own market. So, what does one of these durable monopolies actually look like? Well, Thiel points out 4 key characteristics. First up, you need proprietary technology. And not just a little better, it's got to be at least 10 times better than whatever the closest substitute is. Next, you have network effects. This is huge. It means your product actually becomes more useful the more people use it. Third, economies of scale. Simply put, the business gets stronger as it gets bigger. And last but not least, branding. We're talking about a brand that's so powerful, it basically becomes the category itself. Okay, so that's the goal, but how in the world do you find an idea that could actually become a monopoly? Well, the answer is you have to find a secret. And to do that, Thiel asks this now famous contrarian question. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Seriously, think about that. A good answer to that question, that is the seed of a truly unconventional, game-changing company. So what exactly is a secret in this context? It's just an important truth that most people haven't figured out yet. It could be a secret about nature, a new scientific breakthrough, or it could be a secret about people, like some deep, unmet need that no one is serving. Finding one of these secrets is literally the first step on the path from 0 to 1. All right, next section, building your monopoly. So let's say you found your secret. You've got that amazing 0 to 1 idea. Now what? How do you actually build a company around it? Well, the strategy is probably not what you'd expect. Here's the key. You don't try to boil the ocean. You don't go after some massive market right out of the gate. Instead, you start small. I mean, really small. You find a tiny, specific niche market and you completely dominate it. A perfect example is Amazon starting with just books. Once you own that niche, then, and only then, do you start to carefully expand into markets that are right next door. And this all feeds into another big piece of advice: avoid competition at all costs. You know how everyone in the startup world is obsessed with disruption? Thiel says, forget that. Don't define your company by who you're fighting against. Instead, just focus on pure creation. Because think about it. If you're really building something brand new, you're not fighting for a slice of the old pie. You're baking a completely new one. Okay, our final section is called You Are Not a Lottery Ticket. And this is maybe the deepest, most important message in the whole book. It's really a critique of how our entire culture thinks about the future and what success even means. So, Thiel says our society is kind of stuck in this trap he calls indefinite optimism. What's that? It's this vague, passive feeling that, yeah, the future will probably be better, but we don't really have a plan for how. It's all about keeping your options open. He contrasts that with definite optimism. This is totally different. This is the active, powerful belief that the future will be better because you have a specific plan and you're going to work to make it happen. This is the mindset that built the Golden Gate Bridge and sent people to the moon. I love this quote. In a world that's obsessed with luck, with short-term gains, with just keeping your options open, a company that has a real, concrete, long-term vision, that's a radical act. It's almost always underrated. Thiel's whole point here is that success is not an accident. It's not a random event. It's the result of intelligent design, of having a definite plan. You are not a lottery ticket. You have the power to design and build the future. And so, that brings us to the ultimate challenge of 0 to 1. The future isn't just something that washes over us. It has to be built, piece by piece. The most valuable, most important companies are the ones that haven't even been thought of yet. So the question Thiel leaves us with, and the one I'll leave with you, is this. What valuable company is nobody building? And more importantly, what secret do you know that could be its foundation?